everybody, welcome to RMU Psychology Presents Let's Talk How to Become a School Counselor. As a reminder, we just want to let you know to keep your microphones muted. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or wait till the end and we will answer them. So for today, the overview is Introduction to School Counselors, roles of a school counselor, types of school counselors, how to become a school counselor, certification and licensing requirements, and then we have a video of an elementary school counselor. So today, my name is Briana Bunner. I'm an MS in Counseling Psychology graduate assistant for psychology, and then a second year in the master's program. I am with Maria, so Maria is going to introduce herself.
Hello, I am Maria Hubal. I am also a second year MS counseling student with Bree. We're in the same cohort. So I'm part of this today because I'm actually doing my internship for our first internship portion with the middle school and high school counselors at a school district, and then I will be doing my next portion of my internship with elementary school. So I've gained a lot of experience so far and learned a lot with kind of how the lay of the land goes in this field, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us today, Maria, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and experiences based on what you've known so far.
I'm very excited.
All right, so I would also like to have an important note. The MS in Counseling Psychology program is not a school counseling program or a pathway for certification/licensure in school counseling. So we just wanted to make that apparent. That way you guys know, we don't have that. We are a counseling program, but just not certified in school counseling. Okay, so introduction to school counselors. School counselors are also known as guidance counselors. They play a vital role that supports student success, classroom effectiveness, and overall school harmony. Throughout advocacy, collaboration, and leadership, professional school counselors sustain a safe environment for learning and fair access to educational experiences for all students. They also help with a comprehensive school counseling program that addresses all of the needs of students, regardless of their learning level, disability, or socioeconomic status, through academic, personal, and social/emotional development or support. Maria, do you have any thoughts on anything that we've stated so far?
Yeah, so school counselors are also known as guidance counselors. They can be one and the same depending on the school, but they also can have different roles. So a school counselor in one school might carry on that same role of a guidance counselor, or they might carry on the role that's more mental health related and working more with the support for social emotional development for kids and kind of things like that, placing a larger emphasis on mental health. And then for guidance counselors, they have just a slightly more emphasis on career and career development, having to meet those state regulations of, having the testing requirements like SAT and ACTs. They might also have career exploration, websites or logins for other websites that students will be able to go on throughout their time in school and kind of just look at career paths that might interest them. And then they might help out with any other kind of thing that the school might require of them. So the principal might help them with more of the, I don't want to call it disciplinary action, but they are involved in the process of students who are misbehaving and need to be talked to, as well as just being the main support for students. So they can be one and the same, but depending on the school district, it could vary. In my school district, they are pretty much one and the same.
Great, thank you for that insight and that clarification on the differences and the different roles that they play. Leading into that, so what do school counselors do? So school counseling professionals provide direct and indirect services to students. Direct student services provided by school counseling programs and their counselors can include core school counseling curriculum, which is lessons that are designed to help students achieve competency, knowledge, attitudes, and skills appropriate for their level of development. It can also look like individual student planning, which are activities designed to assist students to establish goals and develop their future plans. Responsive services are meeting the immediate needs and concerns of students in both individual and small group settings or crisis counseling. Indirect services for students involve any activity that is completed on behalf of the students. So that could include referrals, consultations, and collaboration with stakeholders such as administrators, teachers, parents, and community organizations. Maria, do you have any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, so to give it more of like a specific example of what I've experienced for all of those for like our direct student counseling or our direct student services, so core counseling curriculum. For me, I've taught about 7 or 8 lessons, I believe, on different aspects of like aptitude tests, skills and knowledges and competencies. So even just doing a lesson, I did one on goal setting for like 8th graders, kind of setting their goal for when they transition into 9th grade where everything starts to count. And then with individual student planning, that can look different for a lot of reasons. So we could do individual like student attendance like assessments. So for students who are having a hard time, attending school or maintaining a proper attendance, we might have like a student attendance improvement plan. But we also have things like where we meet with like our seniors, or we'll meet with our students pretty much all throughout the year, at least twice, to try and just get a gauge of what strengths they have, what we can do for them, or any opportunities that we can do. I've actually helped a couple students look for jobs and apply to jobs, just because that's just something they really, really needed at the time. And that's what I can do for them. And then so responsive services, so meeting the immediate needs of the concerns of a student. So someone who might be in crisis, having a panic attack, going through a really bad depressive episode, sobbing, we can definitely meet those needs and, talk with them as long as we need to make sure that they're at a comfortable state. And thankfully our school does have like a therapeutic staff that comes in from another agency to help out with those students specifically. It's called our chill room. And so students can go up there and receive services. And then indirect services, we can refer them to either an out of school placement based on their behavior. And then we also have referrals to IOPs, to other like programs, like groups, things that are outside of the school's control, but still provide resources for that. And sometimes even schools can pay for that too, which is really nice to get a student who might be really, really struggling and need some help to, be able to go somewhere and receive that help without having to pay out of pocket.
Yeah, it sounds like not only with the direct services, like you guys take a really hands-on approach when helping them with different scenarios that they might encounter, especially if they're in crisis, and being able to provide that relief for them in that moment. And it also sounds like with indirect services, like you guys are finding the best solutions for the kids that you have that are coming to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing that. So moving on with elementary school counselors, so they can look a little different depending on what school, just based on age and developmental level behaviors. So elementary school counselors ensure students are getting appropriate academic, emotional, behavioral, and physical assistance. They collaborate with teachers and other staff to make sure students are being adequately challenged academically. They engage students with emotional development, behavioral management, and social skill learning. They look for signs of learning disabilities, emotional disturbances, and behavioral concerns that impact learning. Maria, do you have any thoughts on elementary school counselors?
No, I do not. So I don't have experience that all aligns with the other intern who does go down to the elementary school, but I don't have any personal experience yet. Okay. But it's all there.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So we'll move on then to middle school counselors. So middle school counselors assist students experiencing physical, mental, emotional, and social growing pains due to early adolescent growth. They collaborate with students to connect academic and behavioral learning to real-world experiences. They encourage individual identity development, exploration, and peer meditation. Mediation. They address school and social conflicts through mediation management. Maria, do you have any thoughts on middle school counselors?
Yeah, so depending on, it's always dependent on the school and what school is able to afford what and provide what services. But so for some things that I've seen to like connect students like academically and behaviorally to like real world experiences, we can start as early as middle school and we do carry it through high school. But we do have things that also work on like their like social and emotional things. So we have a horse farm, is what we call it, but where we have a group of students that go to the stables and they actually learn social skills with horses. And it's very, very interesting. And so a lot of students have actually grown with that program and are, now teaching other students. And so they start in middle school, and then the high schoolers then teach the middle schoolers. And then we also have like other programs to help better with like tutoring, just like simple things like that as well, just to enhance those experiences, especially because emotions are very heightened in middle school. That is probably the craziest lunch period I've ever been a part of. But also, like, mental health issues don't have an age limit or, anything like that. So you see a lot of it, even in the elementary school, you can see a lot of mental health issues arising, especially around that time, since they're developing more of a concrete sense of their self and kind of like what's going on around them. And it's really, really important to have those kind of resources available to them, even if the resource is you. So I've had a lot of experiences with students where they come to see me regularly. I check in with them even during just lunch period for like 10 minutes just to see how everything's going, and then schedule an individual session if need be. Or we can recommend them to another program that'll help with that same thing.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds like in school, not only do they have you as a resource, but then like maybe they can use out like external organizations as programs, such as going and visiting with horses and learning social cues. Awesome. So kind of transitioning into high school counselors. High school counselors help students define their independence in their transition into adulthood. They engage students and teachers in academic and career planning activities. They conduct crisis counseling and management to assist students in pressures of adolescent trials. And then they assist with student post-graduation plans such as college, military, trade school, and the workforce. Maria, what are your thoughts on high school counselors?
High school is such a fun time, even though they like, so it's a generalized statement, but sometimes they just like can't be bothered to be like bugged by their counselor. But I've developed a lot of really close relationships with many of my high school students, and I'm very upset to leave them because they kind of use me as that resource. But so certain things like this, so to assist with student postgraduate plans, like we have meetings for, what's next with our seniors, like I mentioned, but we also have programs. One is called Partner Up, and it partners with, I believe, PNC Bank, and then we also have something else, but it partners with another organization or corporation, where students will actually go and partner up with a person who actually works within that field. So for this one, a bank will say, and they work within that finance level. They can actually get a job right after college or right after high school and not even have to attend college because of the program. And so it's things like that, even just getting them prepared for if they want to go into the military after that, making sure that we have, military personnel come to the school and talk with them and make sure they kind of understand everything that goes on within that and what's required of them. And then same with workforce, we partner with it's called AW Beatty. So some people from the area might know what that is, but it's actually a career center where students go and start in 10th grade and will actually like go all the way throughout the program for the next couple years. And they can actually like be certified in things. So they have like firefighting, they have things with like tech and auto collision, they have cosmetology, they have early childhood education, all kinds of really awesome programs, even like vet tech, so you can become a veterinarian. So things along that line, conduct crisis counseling and management. We do that with pretty much every student that needs it, but this is just, it's no shy away from the high schoolers as well. They're under a lot of pressure, especially being in that last 2 years. And we're always, trying to collaborate with teachers as much as possible to provide any source of like accommodation for a student if they need it, as well as making sure that students who are maybe in conflict with a teacher, we can kind of resolve that conflict to make this a much easier year for them. And then, we help them define their independence and their transition into adulthood just by talking. And, would you believe it, talking actually has really been helpful with them, just being able to like, kind of, I don't really know what I want to do, but here's what I'm thinking about, or I have no idea where to start. And, it's a really good baseline to keep going with our students. So there's a lot of really good options of being a high school counselor. I think it's probably one of my favorites so far, but My school, we act as both middle school and high school counselors, but between those two roles, I definitely really enjoy the high school students as well.
Yeah, and based on the experiences that you've had so far, it sounds as though that it has been not only enriching for you as like a student trying to learn to become a school counselor, but also for your experiences with those students and being able to provide such a good support for them. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So kind of transitioning into how to become a school counselor. So basically, these are very like simplified steps, but there's about 6 steps that you can take in order to become a school counselor. Complete a bachelor's degree in a behavioral, social science, or educational field, and then you can earn a master's degree in school counseling, complete graduate internship experience for certification/licensure requirements, pass any required exams for the certification or licensure, and then apply for and earn additional certifications just to keep different experiences open and available to you in your career, and then continue your education and stay up to date with school counseling trends and changes. That kind of comes along when you already have been established into the field and you kind of just need to update some of the things that you're kind of going and working through. Maria, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, and with that last portion, so what I've recently learned is that as with many certifications that you get, you do have to uphold them and make sure that they're, renewed as they're supposed to be. Otherwise, you can't, guidance counsel. So for my supervisor, she actually, there's like certain levels, I believe is what she said, to be like a level 1 or 2 counselor. And to uphold that standard, you have to, make sure that you're renewing it when you should. And so she's come up on her renewal process. I think it's like every 10 years, like it's something very like long-term, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So that also comes with it. It's just making sure, exactly when you have to renew it, where you have to renew it, and keeping that so then you can still continue with being a guidance counselor at your school or within another district. So always making sure that's always updated, as well as clearances. But anyone in the education field or getting into the psychology field would probably have experience with clearances by that point.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So kind of diving a little bit more deeper into certification and licensing requirements. Every state has certification requirements for school counselors, but they can look different. So those requirements vary by state, but they do generally include a master's degree in school counseling, a passing score on a state administered certification exam, and a background check. So it can be really important to look into the various state requirements by visiting the American School Counseling Association website, which I have attached below. And then not every state requires an exam, just some require previous institutional experiences as a teacher. Many states do require planned program hours in a school setting, and some require years of professional education or counseling experience. So that's really important to keep in mind. And then school counseling professionals will be required to take continuing education to maintain their certification, kind of like what Maria mentioned on the last slide, just keeping up to date with everything that you have going on. Maria, do you have any thoughts on anything in terms of this slide?
No, pretty much all of it. That's kind of the steps you got to take with certification. That's my next step, since I decided I wanted to maybe go in the realm of school counseling. Since I'm already so far in the program, it's always something you can add on after, so it's not much of a deal. It's just getting that certification, and those are all my steps. Is once I finish those courses required of me, I'll step into passing the exam and getting the appropriate experience that I need. Just like being licensed as like a mental health therapist, you need to get licensed by completing so many hours of client contact hours before you can do that. So it's all pretty much similar within that realm, just different steps.
Okay. And if you feel comfortable kind of answering this question, how has that process been for you in terms of being able to figure out the certifications that you want, like being able to utilize the websites to gain resources or information?
Yeah, so my next steps would be that, and I actually didn't even learn about this until I was told by someone that you can actually just get a certification in it. So it was just about starting that research and looking for schools who do certification only programs. or even just collaborating with the program coordinator of that school, for me personally, to see, like what I've completed in this degree that, can transfer over into their degree so I can then, receive that certification. I might just need to redo, the internship experience, but I think, experience is experience and I can't be upset about that by any means. But so I'll definitely have to collaborate with maybe the program coordinators, as well as just looking at typically when you look at the application process of those, you have to have at least, a master's degree in something related to the counseling or education field, as well as a bachelor's around the same thing, just the same requirements as it is to become a school counselor without taking the track that I am. And, I'll probably be initiating that process after I finish up this program and see where the world takes me.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I think that the students like watching this video or like listening in can really benefit from understanding like the process and kind of the steps that needs to be taken in like a real world experience or example.
Yeah, and I also don't think it's a bad thing that, my experience was not a direct path. And I think that's important to kind of note to students is like, you may go into the program thinking, oh, this is exactly what I want to be. This is perfect for me. And then you're kind of like, well, I'm actually really, really curious about what it's like being a school counselor or even like being within a school setting and, acting as that like counselor role, but still having like, it just might lead to a different path, or even if it's going into assessment or, going into diagnosis and becoming a psychologist, it's okay to make those bumps in the road and, just try to get over them. And, I'm very grateful that my program, I can leave knowing I can go other options, but having a certification can get me where I need to be. So just taking that additional step, though it may be more time consuming and maybe a little more expensive, it's still worth it because then I have multiple routes for myself. And I don't feel like I'm going to be stuck in one specific area. I can kind of go wherever I want. And I think that's how I want it, just because although I love school counseling, it's not a one size fits all. So if I end up not liking it after 6 years, I have the degree that can take me somewhere else. So I think it says that, you can go other places, even if you get into a program. And you can also, decide that if it's not right for you, then you can leave, or you can switch to another one that offers something a little bit different. And that's okay too. So it's always important to like mention to you guys, like it's okay that you're not having your life figured out yet, even in a master's program. I mean, that's kind of where a lot of that like reflection happens. And, mine came a little bit later, and that's totally cool. So I'm just going to take that next step and keep moving. And so I encourage you guys to think that that's okay too. That's normal.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I do think that that is something that students like to hear, that like it's not a linear progression to where you want to go.
Right.
Yeah, and so this next slide is actually going to be a video that we have. We're just going to play a brief portion of it to have you guys see an example of like what it would be like to be a school counselor.
Have fun, be kind, and spread kindness throughout the school.
So most of the students that come visit me have something to do with peer relationships. At this age, a lot of the students are learning how to make friends, they're learning how to keep friends, but most importantly, they're learning kind of those tools they need when they have struggles with their friends. And a lot of the times what I'll tell the students is that as they get older, friendships almost become the most important part of school for a lot of the students that go there. And that building that foundation and learning those tools and learning how to interact with each other is very important, and it's an important lesson they learn here. My name is Matthew Hoffman. I'm the school counselor at Samuel Bissell Elementary School, which is the second and third grade building here in the Twin River City School District. Well, I think the role of school counselor, most importantly, is to be an advocate for all the students at their building. I know that, especially at an elementary building, there's much more to it. It's important for me to help the teachers and to be there for them. But as a school counselor, it's important that you understand your most primary role is that all 360 kids that you're in charge of, or how many ever that may be, that you're here for them, you're here to help them.
What's up, Julian? How are you?
and the best way to reach every student is to make sure that you can get into classrooms as often as you can and teach guidance lessons. So typically I'll be in a classroom at some point throughout the day teaching something along good character and kindness and respect and responsibility. And then I'll have students throughout the day that pop in here. I feel very happy to know that all of the students that I see feel comfortable enough with me that they feel comfortable to just pop in anytime and can talk about something little, talk about something big, and we try and kind of get them back on track and back throughout their day. When you think
Okay, guys, so that was just like a brief little example of like what it would be like to be an elementary school counselor. And I just wanted to provide these resources with you. American School Counseling Association can be a really good example, especially when getting into that certification, licensure, master's programs. And then you also have Amber and I as graduate assistants. And then the RMU Career and Professional Development Center, there's their information below and their hours of operation, as well as the Center for Student Success and Personal Development, their hours of operation and contact information. If you guys have any questions, you can put them in the chat. If not, here is the citation from where we found this information. And then I would just like to say thank you to Maria. I really appreciate you being here and providing all of the information and experiences that you have. Do you have anything further that you would like to add for this time?
Well, thank you for having me. But I think it's a very grounding experience to become a guidance counselor because you really see a large spectrum of students, both on the mental health side and, on the academic side. So what I do like, and if you're like me, I cannot sit and do like one thing every single day and sit at a desk. So fortunately, my experience has been that not every day is the same. Like every single day is so different, and depending on the school district, it can bring a lot of different, things. And so, there might be one day where I'm just chilling in the office, just waiting for students to kind of come in, or I'll schedule, a time where kids can come in and see me specifically. Other days I might be up and at them and go into one of the special ed classrooms to try and, calm down a student or do any kind of like de-escalation between two students that might have gotten into an argument in class, or, even just having a student come in saying like, this is what's going on and I don't know what to do. And then, you have that other spectrum of, let's get you signed up for the SAT. Let's get you, on the right path to wherever you want to go next. Or, oh, you're really interested in cosmetology. Well, we have Beatty. Let's try and get you in for next year when you're old enough so that you can get into that program and, start that path early. And I think I've never appreciated something more because you never really see those inner workings and just how much magic the guidance department can really do for students and the school themselves. Because they're typically finding these programs, they're partnering up with other organizations to run groups or to, with businesses to have students, potentially get a job with this corporation, after they finish high school. And, you get to meet so many personalities. And I think that it's just a really rewarding experience from what I've had for the past, 4 months and, the next 4 to come. So I really encourage, if you're thinking about it, to definitely reach out to a guidance counselor, even if it's at your home school, from your high school. That's exactly what I did when I first got interested. And I just sat with her and talked with her and said, like, what is it like? What's all this fun about, and, she was able to talk with me for, about an hour and just, I picked her brain about everything. And, that was kind of my first step in how to get there. I even partnered with Dr. Monda, the department head, and she's been a really, really good person for guidance. And, I couldn't be more thankful to utilize my resources the way I did.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all that. It really sounds like school counseling not only has like shaped you and like here you are today, but also like you play a vital part in students' lives and helping them get to where they want to be. And that's so cool.
Yeah,
So,
they are definitely not very happy that I am almost finished. Like I did have to start telling students that I'm not going to be there anymore, and they did not receive it very well. But that just tells me that I was able to create a really deeper connection with a lot of students, and make that difference in their lives. And, hopefully the next intern can do the same thing. And, if not, who knows? Maybe I'll be back. A couple years, maybe I'll be back. Who knows? But yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, thank you again. And like I said, we normally have, and this is in terms of our webinars, like this is the last one for our semester. We will be doing them in the spring. So like maybe Maria might be back if we do a 3+2/MS in Counseling Psychology seminar, so that you guys get a chance to understand different perspectives in terms of us as students and in a master's degree. So thank you again, Maria. I really appreciate it.